There are some young men who are serious-minded, persistent, curious, and then there are some young men who don't care.
I think a lot of young men definitely need to learn some more respect.
I think morals and values, we've kind of walked away from those. We've walked away from being confident. We've gone towards being overly confident, where we think we're the only ones that matter.
Some of the challenges now that are much different than before are the internet, really, because there's lots of negative things said where there's so many distractions and other things that are holding you back from always becoming a better person.
I mean, everything is, I want it right now. I want it right now. And therefore we have lost that sense of patience and perseverance.
I think many younger people today have a fear of attempting things.
I don't know if it's fair to say a majority or not, but we have certainly lost too much traction in how we have led in the past, how we have trained up our society and our culture, and particularly our men.
I'm very concerned from an ideological perspective, this war against the traditional nuclear family, this war against strong men.
And it's important for young men right now to be trained in life skills. And probably the largest one that they're missing right now is interaction with other people in a personal nature.
I think one of the most important aspects of becoming the better man is to realize your shortcomings and to embrace those shortcomings in a way where you can understand them fully and then work to change.
Men are called upon to lead, and that is a responsibility, it's an expectation, and it's not one that we can rightfully abdicate, nor should we.
I think the qualities of a good man are wisdom, patience, thoughtfulness, kindness, perseverance, and humility.
Of course, I believe confident, positive leader.
Perseverance is a very big one. Selflessness.
That you're steadfast, that you're loyal, that you're committed.
Belief in God is primary. A sense of self and a belief in oneself.
A good man needs to be someone who's strong, not just physically, but mentally.
It's someone who is morally straight. It's someone who is honest, whose word is truth.
It's those that they have a certain peace about them. And that always makes me want to lean in and understand that better. Where does that peace come from? And when I tend to have those conversations, what I find is their faith is strong, which gives them confidence, which gives them a desire to have self-control. And that is a consistent pattern I've seen in the men that I respect the most.
It's all about a coolness and a calmness, and it's all about a resolve that you have as a good, strong man.
He knows why he's here, he knows what he's dedicated to, and he's far from perfect.
The role of men in society, especially in today's society, is to be a leader.
Leadership, it's a role of providing for a family, because Our prime role in society as humanity is to produce the next round of humanity.
Be the head of their household, to lead their families, and that's something that is articulated very well throughout the Bible.
Well, I think, again, to be leaders, to be providers for their family, to be role models.
I think one of the other things that men can do is to mentor others, to befriend their peers and to lead them in the way that they should go by being a faithful example, by enlisting them in walking in the path that leads to life, and also by investing in younger men.
You have to be loving and caring to your kids. You have to always make time, even if you have a whole bunch of other things on your plate. Always put your family first.
One, like I just said, leader.
The role of men in society today is leadership.
Yeah, I think it starts with leadership, and good leadership.
I'm thinking too of the religious responsibilities of men to pray for their wives, to pray for their kids, to pray for their churches, to pray for their city, to pray for their country and state. That more happens really through the prayers of God's people than through the meetings that we attend and the work that we do.
I got caught up in a series of circumstances. My parents died, and I ended up literally homeless before that was even a word. But that time that I spent sleeping under that pier turned out to shape me and mold my thinking to the point where I would say I would never, if it hadn't been for that time under the pier, I wouldn't have written a book, much less 27.
Probably the greatest challenge that I faced as a kid was not having a father around. So my parents were divorced when I think it was like second grade in that time frame. And my dad, this is before the advent of cell phones and the internet. So my dad was a long-haul trucker, like his father, and so he was gone. And then he ended up moving out of state, and I saw him a couple of times a year. So not having him directly involved in my life changed things dramatically.
Yeah, I would say one thing is the broken family. I come from a divorced family. When I was 11, my father and mother split, and that was pretty ugly at first, eventually got better. And I think that challenge kind of forced me into a fork of a road. I could either, go the alley of everything's gonna be broken, I'm just gonna deal with that and wallow in pity and be upset and mad at God and whatever for my parents being divorced. And I definitely had that road for a little bit. And then I realized, there's a lot more to life. There's a lot more that God's given me. And I saw that challenge as a way to be, how can I change myself through this challenge? This isn't gonna be the first challenge, and it's certainly not be the last challenge that I face. And that challenge I look back to every time, and I say, how did I deal with that? How did I walk away from that with my head held high, even when everything was telling me to put my head down?
I turned my life over to Christ when I was 15 years old. And maybe ironically, I was baptized, and that summer was the summer that my parents told us they were getting divorced. And that time period for me, if I didn't have that faith, if I didn't have that faith to lean on, I don't know that would have, I certainly wouldn't have come out of it the way that I did.
If I had not had my dad in the home, I don't know what would have happened to me. But when I was growing up in the Black community, you had 75 to 77% traditional nuclear families. Now that number is down to 24%.
And that, as a father now, I realized the absolute importance of having a father around. And I've been so involved in my children's lives as a matter of compassion, not as a matter of discipline, right? I've been there for them to provide direction and discipline, but I've been there for them to provide direction and love. Being that father now, I know makes me a better man.
Happened to be my science teacher in middle school. He carried himself a different way. And he set a really good example, a different standard. Tried to draw the best out of me at those ages. And I'm very, very thankful and give him a lot of credit for having that impact on me that early in my life.
My daddy was a great man, and he had a lot of great men as friends. And those were the people that I grew up watching. Those are the men that I grew up listening to and watching how they acted and how they said things and what they said. And I wanted to be like them. And that's what influenced my drive toward being the kind of man that I'm still working to become.
I think watching a lot of the older people around me and watching the way that they govern themselves, that's made me want to probably change the way that I've acted.
I'm a musician, so lots of people who I play with a bunch, they're always inspiring to be the best. They always are passionate about what they do. They always want to keep improving. Their inspiration has inspired me to keep doing what I love. And I feel like that goes both ways with being a better man.
My primary role models were both my grandfathers. And my grandfather on my mother's side was a Marine and is a Marine, always will be a Marine, right? And then my other grandfather, when World War II kicked off, he became a tanker, and they put him in a Sherman tank, and he landed in Normandy on D-Day. So it's that sense of duty, and I think those examples that I followed all throughout my life that sort of pulled me in that direction, right? It pulled me to this sense of being something better than I was for myself, to do things that are bigger than myself.
I've always said from a very young age, I've learned the most by making mistakes. Yep, there's going to be failures, but boy, there's going to be a lot of education.
I think for me it was coming to youth group and doing a mission. We went to Cuba, and I saw how many people, how many children really were in a bad place, and how the society had really not been in a good place, and how you look around America and the same things happening. And I saw that, and I said, from this point on, I was 14 years old, and I said, whatever it is I go through, I know that I need to step it up, whether that's in a leadership role, whether that's just being a friend, because sometimes the role of man is just to be a friend.
Living life is a process that if you're not being encouraged to become a better man all through life, you're not in a good position. You're in the wrong position.
So I think that it's an ever-changing process. It's a growth process. It's a journey. It is not so much a destination. But I think that the smart man understands that every single day he is refining himself, he is growing, and he is changing. And I don't think that you can ever say, "Yep, I'm there," because as soon as you say that I'm there, you're going to find some fault, failure, shortcoming.
I believe that men need to be physically strong.
Yeah, men should develop their body so it can do all it's meant to do.
I still try and do a consistent amount of exercise because physical health is important. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you focused, it keeps you balanced.
I feel like it's more important to be mentally strong, but being physically strong helps you protect your family.
And protecting your family isn't just, being able to shoot straight, right? Being able to get in a fight. No, it's the ability to be able to provide for them, to be there when they need them. With physical strength comes health.
The human body is probably the greatest machine ever created. That brain controls the healing nature of everything that our body is attacked from.
One of my maxims of leadership was to keep your individual weapon clean. Now, the literal meaning of that was your individual weapon, your pistol or your rifle, you keep it clean because in combat, you don't want to pull the trigger and hear a click. But your body is also a weapon. You got to keep your body clean, and you should not pollute your body. You should want it to be strong.
The first long run I did is I ran from Marco Island in Florida across the state to Key Largo, then all the way south to Key West. And that was 250 miles in 5 days. And I did that to raise money for someone who I worked with whose son had a brain tumor. But you can't do that if you're not physically fit, right? I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'8", I weigh 175 pounds. And throughout my life, I was, maybe at my peak was probably 160 pounds in the Marine Corps. So I wasn't a big guy. I was never a big guy, but I was fit, and I could keep running forever, and that was the key.
Your body is a temple of the Lord, and you're supposed to keep your body strong. You're supposed to keep it clean. And spiritual fitness and physical fitness, mental fitness and moral fitness, all of those things relate to each other.
I think God intended us, made us in a certain way to have these abilities, and if we just throw them away, then what's the point of them?
I definitely think that does have some truth value behind it.
Yeah, right now we're definitely in the good times, and that is creating weaker men.
Yeah, I think of our presidency here in the U.S. is what I think of, and in my lifetime, I kind of go back to, the years of Jimmy Carter as being an example of, I think, a weaker leader, and created a really challenging environment from a presidential point of view, right? Specifically pointing to what happened to the economy, interest rates, and the things that existed during his presidency. So that, as an example of weakness, provided the opportunity for Reagan to step in. Reagan, I think, demonstrated some very strong leadership and turned that economy around. Ultimately, when I look through it and the impact, the cascading impact that has had to not just the American culture, but our global economy and global culture, I see a lot of that going from that, following that pattern that you outlined, where we've had strong leaders demonstrating strength, and that almost immediately creating more of an opportunity for weakness to step in or weakness to be accepted.
Well, I think the greatest weaknesses in our current culture is we just have it too good.
Young men and boys, they don't feel like they have the need to work as much. They also don't want to. They feel like everything's provided for them. I feel like life right now is very easy. So, and with the internet, you can pretty much get whatever you want. There's no need to go out to the grocery store. You can get everything delivered right to your front door. And I feel like that's really setting us back. Although it may be helpful, it's really not developing anyone's character.
We are at that point right now of apathy. And that is what has taken us into these softer times, because things got so good, people stopped caring, people stopped paying attention.
We are on the cycle where weak men create hard times. And that comes from a period of prosperity. That is this embrace of anything goes, right? You can be whatever you decide you're going to be that morning when you wake up, right? You can don't have to be moral in your judgments. You can say and do anything that you want, but God forbid someone else say or do anything they want if it offends you. That's a weak man, right? A weak man is someone who the words of another person changes who they are inside, changes how they feel.
Yeah, you know, that quote almost parallels what we saw starting with what we call the greatest generation. Those hard times created those strong people, and those strong people dug in, and you know, they created good times. Out of those hard times, they created the good times, and then those children of the good times, they weren't as strong. They gradually got weakened by the good times, and then the weakened people create hard times. And I think to a degree, we're about to reap that, or we're reaping it now with our societal issues, our families, the arguments, the disagreement, the anger.
I think where you find weak men come out of good times is when they don't appreciate it. When you look at it and you say, everything should be like this, and I deserve everything like this, everything I come should deserve to feel this good, that's when you find the weak men. The strong men is when you look at it and you appreciate it as a gift from God, and you say, this is amazing.
When I was a commander in Iraq 20 years ago, and I had some 600 troops, I didn't tell them it was going to be fun. I didn't tell them it was going to be easy. I told them it was going to suck. It was going to be hard. But if they could survive this and get through this, they would be better men because of it. And that's what we have to start doing now.
We just have it too good. We have washing machines that do our wash, dishwashers that do our dishes, but nobody has the time to do anything for somebody else because they're too busy doing ? What? Every one of us should be active in our waking hours to produce something better for the others around us. And that is not happening.
Young men can overcome weaknesses by staring them in the face. You know, do hard things. Do things that are tough to do.
You know, you got to get out of your comfort zone. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Like I said, embrace the suck, okay? That's how you get better. You know, there's a reason why we go to the weight room. There's a reason why I'm 62 years of age and I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I still go out and run 3, 4, 5 miles. Because if I don't, my body's going to atrophy. My body's going to get unhealthy. So it's no different with your character or any other aspects of your life, your spiritual life, everything. If you don't go out there and challenge yourself and seek out the adversities, the things that will make you stronger, you're just going to get weaker.
I think looking to some of their elders, some people that do have a strong faith in that, do stand firm in the Bible, talking about some of the things that they struggle with when it comes down to the being easily influenced, and being able to sit down with someone that they know is like very strong and firm in what they believe.
First and foremost has to start with the right foundation. So I think the way you do that is you certainly find good leaders, good mentors, people to come alongside and partner with.
Iron sharpens iron, it says in the scriptures, and men sharpen men when you hang with the right men. And it's important who you hang around, who you admire, who has traits that they may challenge you. They may be ones that are not yours, but you need to learn where they're coming from to be effective in what you're going to do.
You have to surround yourself with the right people. Try to surround yourself with people who are passionate about the same thing and that are always striving to get better at what they do. That will lead to helping you become a better man, and then you can then inspire other people.
We don't stand on our own 2 feet. we stand when we're surrounded by other men who are aimed in the same direction and desire to walk together and to make each other better.
Old saying, you're not what you think you are, but what you think you are. You need to be constantly aware that you can do anything that is in the will of God with His help.
Men need to respect themselves. They also absolutely need to respect women, flat out. And they would need to demonstrate that respect.
Definitely with respect. We're called to love the women around us, no matter what they do or how they treat us.
Well, I still believe in chivalry. I still believe that women should be respected and they should be honored. I hate this rap music out there with all the denigrating and disparaging language toward women. I had 2 daughters, and I knew that they would pay attention to my relationship with my wife, and they would see me. And I tried to establish myself as the model for what type of guy they would look for, going out.
No matter what age, you always have to respect women, always be kind. When you do find a wife, then it'll make your relationship healthier.
I think the role towards women is just to be supportive. There's a lot of things going on in society where people target women or they put them down. I think our role is to be supportive of them. The role of a man as a leader, like we talked about, at a husband or a father level, a lot of that's listening. A lot of communication is nonverbal, and that stays the same through adolescence. If we just allow ourselves to be in a lesser position, to put others above us, that's the same thing with women. And I think we just need to easily communicate in the same exact way.
I say please and thank you to my children. I say please and thank you to all those around me. I make it a specific point in a text or an email to include those words.
In the same way that Christ viewed the church, right? That's how He calls us to treat our wives, right? Our spouses. And so I don't see any deviation from that today. Again, I see a lot of distraction, a lot of confusion, a lot of other things being brought up conversationally or socially to try and create a different expectation than that. I can tell you that my wife's expectation of how I lead in the household aligns to that.
I open my daughter's car door every single time she gets in the car. Can she open herself? Absolutely. It shouldn't be an exception. It should be the rule, right? To show her a level of respect for her femininity. And if we do that, then our daughters, our wives, understand that this is supposed to be how it's done. And the young men see this as the example.
Someone like me, I have to set the example. And it's not just with my own family, it's when I'm out at Walmart or wherever. You open the door. If you have a woman coming in or a woman behind you, you hold the door for them. And you address them, yes ma'am, no ma'am, things of this nature. You just start to show that respect. And maybe you plant the seed where they say, I want other people, other men, to respect me in that way.
Our job is for their safety and their provision and to care for them. And certainly not to say we're better than they are. We're not. We just have a different job.
The first thing I would say is get to know God.
First and foremost, pray. Go out and find a mentor. Seek adversity.
Go to work. Please go to work.
Choose love. It's what God gives to us, and He says it's for us to give to other people freely.
for those kids that come in and look at this video or consider what do I need to do or what will give me a higher probability of achieving the goal that they have set for themselves. It starts with writing them down.
One thing that you need to do is read. Read. It will influence everything in your life.
Read, 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 and listen to recordings of people who you highly respect. The key book for all knowledge is the Bible. Stick your nose in it every day. If you want to just read a line and move on with the day, so be it. But it'll be blessed.
The quote from Mark Twain when he said there are two most important days of your life. It's the day that you were born and the day that you find out why. And so I think it's so important for young people to read books. And again, I'll say start with the Bible, the best leadership book out there. But read books, read stories of other leaders, and try to see and ascertain when did they find out that second most important day of their life. And that's what you have to do, is find it.
Find good friends who share your faith and who call you to task and walk with you. You're going to be weak some days, and they'll be strong for you. But the way that you make it the distance is by having guys in your life that are good friends that you can tell the truth to, even if it's not pretty.
Get out, be with people, learn from people you admire.
If you can get to know God and learn to hear His voice so that you can hear His call on your life and you can be what He created you to be, that's where ultimate fulfillment and ultimate joy comes from. And I think real confidence.
Focus on those independent things in your life that you need to change, and you start developing habits of discipline that permit you to make those changes. That's growth. That's becoming the better man every single day of your life.